Alright, we are lined up and ready to go. This is Race Review Episode 6, the main event of Race 10 of the Winter Series, and we're waiting for the green flag. We are going. Green flag is flown. We're moving in. Oh, we lost one position. The 23 got ahead of us, but we'll get him in this corner right here. Going down the inside. He's going to keep it hanging around the outside. We're going to squeeze him a little bit, but that's fine. We got that third position. We can make our way up. This shouldn't be too much of an issue. We'll see what we can do from here. We're just going to keep pushing. Not the best start, but we'll work with it. It's not horrible, and it could put us in a good position. He's going to go for the inside there. We'll see what happens. Well, we spot an opportunity here. We're going to get up next to him. Unfortunately, nothing doing. Not a great passing spot, but it's lap 1. You know, sometimes you go for it in lap 1. Get a little bit of a slide there. We're going a little bit wide. Those cold tires not quite holding in for what we gave in. We gave it a little bit too much responsibility, but we're still close. Nothing, no harm done. We're just going to keep it on their bumper. Let's see how much we can push this. It's a 12-lap race, I believe, so we got a little bit of time. We're just putting the pressure on. In a longer race, like, oh, he goes through the inside, though. That 903 pushes his way through, and that really lost us that third position. It was an aggressive move. He made contact to do it, but he got through, and it's the early end of the race, and unfortunately, that really detached the two of us from those guys at the front, which is going to make it difficult to really contend for that win, because now, if they're smart, which they are, these two drivers are very experienced, many championships in them, and many races won across the country, they're going to look back and see that gap appear, and they're going to think, we should work together and try and drop these guys because they're fighting each other. And so now, for us, now back to, for what you're watching here from the camera, from my perspective, is I need to make sure that I catch these guys. And I cannot make any mistakes, because if these three guys hook up really well, they will drop me and I will never have a chance to get that third place. And at this point, I've been on the podium for the last, I don't know, 12, 15 races. And I don't really want to break that streak. So we got to make sure we nail this. Get on the brakes, hit them good. Good turning, not too much sliding. That was clean. We pulled a little bit on him right there, but then again, because he's got that draft, he can pull a little bit on us coming out of that corner, and that negates the advantage that we were able to gain by going into that corner. But he's kind of dropping back on those two guys in the front, and his lines aren't the best, so he's kind of losing a little bit of time. I don't know if he didn't practice enough, or maybe he's not comfortable with this setup, but something is not quite working for him right, and he's not able to keep up with those guys at the front, and so we're able to catch the slightest bit of a draft, just enough to keep us hooked in contention, but we're not really going to guarantee anything yet, because those two guys at the front really are starting to pull away, especially on this back straightaway, because they're so close to each other. Look at that gap that forms. There's no chance that 903 is going to have to get up into that first or second position, because he's just a little bit too far back, and there's no battling going on up front. And so he's got to drive perfectly faster than the guys at the front in order to catch up to them. Now, in any circumstance, that's always difficult with a class with drivers of this high caliber, but in this scenario, when there's two of them hooked up with the same frame, they're running the same chassis, which means that they have the same handling characteristics. Now, something that's really interesting about the drafting, especially in 206 racing, is that when you have two drivers who draft each other, who bump draft each other, right? That means one guy punches a hole down in the air on the straightaway, so that means the other guy behind him can accelerate faster, and then he pushes the guy at the front, so your combined acceleration is much faster. The interesting thing is that because of how certain chassis and frames are designed, some will be able to take more speed into the corner but less speed out of the corner, or they behave differently in different corners. So when you have identical chassis and identical frames that you run on, so I run on the VLR frame, the 903 in front of me is running on a OTK or a Tony Kart frame, and the two guys in front are running on Croc frames. They have different handling characteristics, which means that those two guys at the front because they're running the same frame, are even more hooked up and even more powerful together. It would be the same thing as if the 903 driver was running with another guy with an OTK frame, or if I was running with another guy in a VLR frame and we were very well hooked up together and we were good drivers, right? Because we have the same handling characteristics, it gives us an additional boost over what a normal 206 draft gives us. Now, at this point, those two drivers at the front have checked out. That is the reality of our race, unless they do something really dumb, which is very unlikely. We're not going to be able to catch up to them. So the focus really turns to that 903 driver. Now, he's pulled away from us quite a bit because he's had that draft from the front two quite a lot longer. So it's going to make it very tough for us to catch him. So now the focus really switches into how can you make sure that you nail every single braking point, every single turn in, every single throttle application, and every single corner exit so that you drive it just perfectly so that you are efficient and effective, you don't make any mistakes. And that is the nature of success in 206 racing, and it always has been. When you have 12 horsepower, which is, 12 horsepower is nothing, right? Your road car probably has at least 200 horsepower, if not 300. So, or if you're watching this and you drive a McLaren or whatever, then you got like 500-600. Fine. For most people here, we're usually around 200 to 400, right? That's normal road cars. So we got 12 horsepower, which means that you cannot make mistakes. It's a very unforgiving sport. So at this point, what I'm starting to notice in my helmet here while I was driving, I'm catching this guy. I'm a little bit faster. And that's good news. And now you see that we're at halfway. So those two flags shaped in a cross over each other, that means we're at halfway point, which is good news because we're catching him. And I've done the math, the mental math, however approximate it may be, and he looks back because he notices that I am starting to close on him too. And you can tell when a driver looks back, they're like, where is that guy? And we as drivers will not look back if we don't feel like there's something worth looking back at. And you can just see how we come into that turn 8, that hairpin turn, and we just gain a little bit on him. We gain a kart length. And that shows massively, and on exit 2, we just hold that advantage. In that braking zone, we pull on him a lot. And we're coming through this section here, too. We pulled another half a kart length on him. And here, he's going good. He's going pretty good. We're kind of even here, but just in that last section of that bus stop, we just pull a tiny bit on him, and he goes over on the rumbles. And now we are in the draft, right? So at this point, we're close enough that we've really picked up that draft, and he goes too wide coming out of off-camber, which really compromises him, and that means we have that draft coming into this corner, which is great news. I'm looking behind me. I'm like, who's there? Do I need to worry about that? No, there's no one there. I'm clear to attack. I'm clear to do whatever I want. There's no risk. All the pressure is on him. There's no pressure on me from behind. So now it's really about how can we pressure him into making mistakes. Just put the pressure on him over and over and over until he cracks, and that's when we'll have our opportunity. We don't really need to force an overtake when we have a driver who we can put pressure on for a whole race. Usually drivers do that no matter how good they are. Even Lewis Hamilton, if you pressure him for a whole race, he'll start to make a little mistake here and there, and that's really what we're looking for. So now we're right on his bumper, and instead of trying to pass him right away, we're like, well, let me just put the pressure on. Let me see what I can make you do in mistakes, right? So he's running too wide out of this corner. Now, this is the main thing we start to notice here when we're really following him close, and that's the benefit of following a guy when you're racing him or a girl. When you follow them close, you can really start to notice where they're making mistakes, and that's where you pick out your overtaking opportunities later on, is using that information that you've learned. As we're going into this corner here, we brake a little bit earlier because we don't want to push him into the braking zone. We want to put pressure on him, but we don't want to put that much pressure. And so he's just taking his lines. We're watching everything that he does. I'm stalking his driving. I'm stalking his lines. He's too wide there. That's another opportunity. How is he taking this corner? He's pretty decent. He slides a little bit there, though. And he's on that curb, which he doesn't quite need to be doing. And that allows us, really, we suck up right there again. And he takes that curb. Due to the design of his kart, he doesn't actually need to do that because he doesn't have a stiffer kart than I do. But he takes his line, whatever, it's his choice. We just use this as intel, right? This phase is just all about gathering intel. We see that our line out of here, we just close right up to him, and out of that corner, we're on his back bumper. That wasn't the draft. That was just purely the line that we took was superior to the line that he took, despite all his skills and experience. He didn't quite figure it out with this heat, with the air temperature, with the track temperature, with how he may have put the pressure in his tires. Isn't quite working out for him. So we're really just here stalking him, learning, and also putting that pressure on him. That's a killer combo. Because when you get that right, sometimes people will make mistakes and you don't even need to try and pass them. They'll just make mistakes, and then you take the opportunity to seize and capitalize on those. So we're still going. We're not quite at 2 laps to go, but we're just keeping him honest right now. And that's really the goal, because those front 2 guys have checked out. And unless they do something really stupid, which is unlikely, I wouldn't. You know, they're going to get that 1st and 2nd place, so we need to focus on making sure that we can secure this 3rd place position. And that's really the only goal in my mind right now, because the front 2 are seconds ahead, right? So again, when we're hiding behind a guy like this, we're stalking him. It's like we're breathing down his neck, and he's like, I'm here, and I'm coming to get you. And you see, he makes a mistake right there. That was that pressure, and we get right alongside him, just to say, hey, buddy, I see you. You suck. I'm gonna get you. And regardless of whether that's what you actually think of the driver, we like to send that message because it gets into someone's head. And now we are 2 laps to go, right? So now we gotta find an opportunity to take. And that opportunity will present itself because we know we're faster. We know we have so many ways to get past him. And he goes really wide in that corner, which is going to open up a lot of opportunity for us. Are we going to take it here? We could wait a little bit longer. We thought about it, but then it's like, well, I don't really need to, because I got a lot of opportunities, and we'll see how he does it later on, you know? We're just going to go into 8 here. What are we going to do? Oh, we got on the inside, last minute lunge. It works. We slow it up on that corner, on that apex, just to block him from doing any kind of maneuver to try and get up next to me. I'm going to kind of let it run wide because, yeah, he can still pass me in here. It won't really affect me, and I'll have a lot of opportunities after this to get back past him. So now it's just about keep it clean, keep it tidy. If we can pull a little bit of a gap to prevent him from doing any kind of stupid dive bombs, then that's obviously great. But we're just going to keep it tidy here. At this point, it's all about don't make any mistakes, and because you're a faster driver, you'll be able to pull out a little bit of a gap, and so we're just going to take this normally, you know, any other opportunity. But he goes to the inside, and he really pushes us off track there, and that was actually a full contact. That was avoidable contact, and that was actually given a 3-second penalty. So we'll just go back through this actually real quick because it is interesting to watch. So as we're coming down the start-finish straightaway right here, right, he's right up behind us. He wants that position, and so he's going to go right on the inside. And because it's the last lap, you can see right here, his front wheel is right there. And normally when you take this line, you're going to pull a little bit more in the inside just to prepare yourself to take that next corner, but he knows we're on the outside, and he knows that his best shot at winning this race at this point, because he knows I'm faster, his best shot is to push me out wide and hope that I end up in the dirt and that, you know, maybe he gets that position, and that's exactly what happens here. So we'll watch him push us way off in the dirt. We go off in the dirt. He stays on. He didn't leave us the racing room. He pushed us off. He made contact with us 3 times going to that. That's a clear penalty. It was given. Justice was served, but it still sucks. So now we're kind of back. We're in 4th. I'm pissed off. I'm not gonna lie, but I had a very long. Actually, I didn't even talk to the race director. That penalty was applied. I didn't even have to ask for it because it was a glaringly obvious penalty. And people race like that sometimes. You know, they get desperate, they get frustrated, they get angry. Their emotions get the best of them. It happens to all of us. And that's life sometimes, you know? People do stupid things, and so that's a part of racing, and it's nice when you can rely on a good race director, as we did have at this race, that will penalize moves like that, because they are illegal. I mean, for that reason, because otherwise we'd just be racing on the dirt all the time, right? So it is frustrating to deal with, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's racing. Stupid shit happens, and it's also a huge reason why we have these GoPros. They're very helpful in situations like this. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, because I'll be posting more of these, and I love racing. I love making these videos. I love sharing them with you, and I would love to know any thoughts or questions you have about racing, 206 racing. I meet a lot of guys all around the state, and across this side of the country. Really cool people. I love sharing these videos with you guys, and thank you to everyone who comes up to me and is appreciative for my videos.